Computers have changed drastically since their creation. In the beginning, computers took up entire floors of buildings. Now we have computers small enough to fit in your bloodstream. One of the greatest inventions in the computer industry is the invention of the operating system. Before the operating system, computers could only do one job at a time, and that job normally took a specialized set of hardware to complete correctly. Before we talk about the operating systems of today, we must first talk about the operating systems of the past. Courtesy of the Timeline of Computer History website, the precursor to the operating system was a technology called paper tape. Paper tape worked in feet or yards of Scantron-like paper that had information punched out on it. And this wasn't bubbled in, it was actually hole punched. This tape would be fed through a computer, and the holes would be read like binary. If there was a hole, it was a 1. If there was not a hole, it was a 0. Fast forward to today, the modern existence of the operating system looks like magic compared to its predecessors. Operating systems may vary between manufacturers, but they all come with very basic tools that span almost all of them. One of the universal tools is a file management tool. A file management tool often works on the principle of outline hierarchy. This means that there is a main folder with smaller subfolders under it, much like a Russian nesting doll. Another common feature of an operating system is what's known as a GUI, or a graphical user interface. This interface is what allows you to click on an icon to run a program instead of having to type out a string of code every time you want to do that operation. However, the key feature that determines an operating system is how many processes or jobs it can do at once. Modern operating systems can do up to the hundreds of operations at a single time. The operating system industry is dominated by two technical giants, Apple and Microsoft. With another visit to the timeline, two more dates arise, the first being 1984. In this year, Apple debuts the Macintosh operating system. Macintosh was the first mouse-based interface and was the birth of the GUI. It took only 1 year for Microsoft to respond. With an updated version of MS-DOS, an operating system called Windows was born. With that, Windows being Microsoft's first GUI-created operating system. These two pioneers accidentally created the biggest tech debate of our lifetime. Do you use Apple or Microsoft? Mac or Windows? Both systems have their pros and their cons. Mac is synonymous with luxury and quality and security. However, this luxury comes at luxury prices. Windows invokes thoughts of customizability, program development, and economic stability. But this comes at the cost of security. While the pros and cons are one or the other, they make sense in the application of the operating system. Mac is often used by artists who need security and they need the fluidity and ease of use. Windows users are for the common man and the tech junkie alike. A large analytical program called Gartner is the leading analytical company in tech data. And thanks to their data, we know that Apple has about a 10% share of the tech market. However, Microsoft does not own the other 90%. There is another competing operating system that is gaining popularity called Linux. Linux works on the theory of open source, which means that you can find the entire source code online and free to use and free to use and change. Linux has shown that it has gained mass appeal on the understanding of open source with people who disagree with the greed of the tech industry. Open source also operates on the understanding that people who want to use a software and want to make it better can and will do that. Linux finds its origin in 1991 when a Finnish or a student from Finland published his kernel, the basic operating system, online for free. Within weeks of the Linux release, avid tech enthusiasts worked on their own versions of Linux and created a mass outpouring of Linux versions. Linux gives you the ability to modify any part of the operating system to make it any way you want, and that is one of the key features that draws in Linux users. With the extreme changes that operating systems have endured, there is no way of knowing where time will take us. But we can at least understand that operating systems have revolutionized the way that computers work and will forever change the tech industry.